California Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove is taking the fight where it needs to be. For example, she just conducted a shadow hearing this week in California, demanding answers as to what is happening to our immigrants that are being disappeared off of American streets. She's also leading the charge to demand answers from Kash Patel, FBI director, who is using a $60 million private jet to go to a boondoggle ranch and have date nights with his girlfriend. Sydney Kamlager-Dove is also demanding that affordability be a part of the agenda that is met in D.C., explaining that Republicans, both in the House and in the Senate, have zero plans to fix the healthcare crisis in our country. She's the kind of fighter that we need in D.C. Take a listen to the work she's doing. And joining me now is one of the true fighters in D.C., Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove of the great state of California. Congresswoman, it's always so good to see you. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? It's always good to be here with you.
Well, look, we are coming to the end of a fairly chaotic 2025, courtesy mainly of the Trump regime 2.0. One of the things that we're looking forward to happening next week, although I'm not holding my breath, is this purported vote on healthcare on December 11th. That was a part of the deal to end the government shutdown, to allow the Democrats to craft the language of what would be teed up for a vote. But what are you hearing in the House in terms of any kind of proposals from the Republicans on healthcare?
So there is pandemonium over
typical.
in the House, yes, because Republicans are mad at each other and they are taking it all out on Speaker Johnson. So he might need additional security. You know, what we are hearing is that no one should be holding their breath about these votes. You know, Senator Thune did promise to hold votes, but he didn't promise that he would have the votes. He also didn't promise that he would have a real proposal. So we haven't seen anything. You know, there have been bipartisan discussions on the House side. We have a couple of members, R's and D's, who are going to reveal a plan, but no one is expecting this to be solved. And in fact, Speaker Johnson has not committed to picking up and having votes on any bill that comes through from the Senate side. So already Thune is talking about, will there be another government shutdown?
I mean, this was part of the reason why I said, and I was not trying to be casual about it, because I was definitely having empathy and sympathy for the people affected by this government shutdown. But I was pissed when there was, I think, capitulation. And I understand these are your colleagues in the Senate. But I mean, I was pretty mad about this because without it being codified, written in, being a requirement to have this vote, and knowing that we just kicked the can down the road to the end of January of 2026, that we were going to have to do this all over again, I can reasonably anticipate the Republicans shrugging their shoulders and saying, we're going to go for the holidays. We got to deal this in January. We'll just deal with it in January.
Of course. And we have a president now saying that affordability is a Democratic hoax, and we do not have an affordability issue in this country. When you have Republicans who refuse to vote on healthcare, who don't have a plan about lowering healthcare costs, and who don't even want to commit to voting on it, and everyone acknowledging that healthcare costs are too damn high, just like cost of living is too damn high. So if you don't have any leverage over the Republicans, it doesn't make any sense to me why you would yield to them without getting something in writing about what you are going to gain. Yes, we won the messaging war, but at the end of the day, people still have bills they have to pay, and we have to address the healthcare crisis to lower those bills.
Yeah, and look, the last I heard, the Democrats were thinking about maybe trying to obtain a clean 3-year extension on the Obamacare tax subsidies that are due to expire TikTok in just about, 20-something days. But, you know, there's some weird machinations, as again is typical, going on vis-a-vis the White House. And I'm also reading that there's really no clear guidance that's being provided. Why? Because there's never a plan with the administration. It's always the concepts of a plan, but never a healthcare plan. And I'm really worried because a lot of Americans are entering this holiday season with no joy, because they know there's some serious tough questions they're going to have to ask themselves. Do I put food on the table, or do I have health insurance? I hope nobody gets sick.
There's a lot of uncertainty People are scared. That's why they weren't rushing to the stores after Thanksgiving for Black Friday, because they don't know what their paychecks are going to look like through December and January when these premiums kick in. Democrats have a discharge petition. All of us have signed it, asking for a 3-year extension on the Obamacare subsidies. And hey, look, I get it. We have to do more than just make sure that we're putting more money in the pockets of insurance companies. We have to address the broken healthcare system in its totality. But at the very least, can we do this while we try to gain the House back and actually have real discussions about how to fix it? All of the Democrats have signed it. We don't have any Republicans to sign it. So where are these folks when they want to use the discharge petition for so many of their other issues? And they talk about how they support healthcare. Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about how she supports healthcare, but her ass needs to be signing that discharge petition so that we can actually have a vote.
Leopard, spots, that whole thing. Trust me. I know. Let's stay on the topic of money, because affordability is clearly something that is relevant regardless of your party affiliation, even if the Republicans don't want to be doing the work to do it. Let's talk about Kash Patel. Let's talk about the way that he's been spending money. There is a spectacular letter that you co-signed with Jamie Raskin. It was sent to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. It was sent on December 1st, and it calls him out for his use of a $60 million private jet to go to wrestling matches. Let's see the girlfriend. And I mean, I thought this was just because I use the word boondoggle all the time in common Katie Phang parlance. But it really was the name of a ranch, the Boondoggle Ranch, a scenic hunting resort, as the ideal place to waste money or time on unnecessary or questionable projects. I mean, that's legit.
That's the definition of Kash Patel.
Well, as he searches, maybe he'll take the private jet to Valhalla. But at this point, this man is wasting taxpayer dollars while people are struggling to figure out if they're going to put food on the table or have health insurance. What is going on with this man in the use of this private jet?
I don't know what is going on with crazy Kash. He needs to stop using whatever. If it's steroids, I don't know what it is. He should stop. What I will say is, while we had a government shutdown, we had federal workers, including federal workers in the FBI, who were working to keep this country and citizens safe, and they were not getting paid. Meanwhile, the director of the FBI has Secret Service protecting his girlfriend, is getting his booty calls answered with the lady, and they are using this FBI jet going around the country, luxury travel on dates. So I don't have a problem with you trying to work your mojo and get your groove on, just not on taxpayer dollars. And if you're going to use the jet with the girl, you have to pay us back, reimburse the American people, because my taxpayer dollars are not going to fund your late night date nights. Okay. And he has not shown us any receipts. I mean, real receipts,
like literal receipts
of how he has reimbursed the taxpayers. So that's one. And then he's got, don't cry for me, Kash Patel. He's on the, television talking about, I have a right to have a personal life. Yes, you do, just not on our dime. And hey, here's the other thing. Why are they moving money, right? They are appropriating dollars from the FBI, from the DOJ, working on addressing prostitution, human trafficking, very similar to what we are talking about when we're talking about the Epstein files, so that he can take the luxury jet with his girlfriend, so that Kristi Noem can have a $220 million photo shoot on the horses. I mean, this is all on taxpayer dollars when you have a president who refuses to pay SNAP benefits to people who are eligible for them and need them. So you will not feed the hungry, but you'll let Kash Patel use my money instead of his miles to go on a date.
Well, and let me be clear, because I know some people are losing their minds over this, and including me. Apparently, the FBI director is allowed to use the private jet. So I want to make sure we're clear here, right? So nobody accuses us of not giving the facts. FBI directors are required by executive branch policy to use government aircraft for air travel, whether official or personal, because because I mean, I don't know if Kash Patel actually knows how to do his job, but it's to maintain access to secure communications and to move quickly in the event of an emergency. I don't think that he moves quickly when he needs to have an FBI jacket that says FBI on it and he has to take one from a female agent. But he's required to reimburse the government at coach fare rates for himself, family, and friends. I mean, all of it has to be reimbursed. And so the bottom line is y'all are asking, show us literally the receipts for the reimbursements that you've been giving for using this private jet.
That's all I'm saying. And like I said, if you want to take your girl on a date, you want to show her a good time, hey, great. Now, should she be on the jet with you? I do have some questions about that. But at the very least, if you're going to do that, reimburse. So let me tell you, as a member of Congress, when I go on trips and I take my husband, I have to reimburse either the entity that is helping me travel on company business or I'm paying for it myself. The taxpayers are not paying for me to take my husband on a date. So if they're not doing it for me, then we should not be doing it for Kash Patel. That is what we are saying. And like I said, he has not shown up. He has not provided any receipts. So when they talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, there's a picture of Kash Patel. When you're talking about corruption, there's a picture of Kash Patel. I was in a judiciary hearing just yesterday, Katie, and I couldn't believe it. They were having a conversation about balancing the budget and the debt of the government. And I was like, oh my God, how are you talking about debt when you have the destruction of the East Wing, when you have this creation of this ballroom that nobody is going to use, when you have Kash Patel and his $62 million dates, when you have Kristi Noem and her $230 million photo shoot, when you have the military parade. I mean, it can go on and on about the waste, fraud, and abuse, the corruption in the misappropriation of taxpayer dollars for the benefit of these people to live the high life.
I have a theory it's really not going to be the ballroom, that they're creating a memory care facility for Donald Trump for his dementia and senility. So one thing that you are doing, because you always do, is you work. And what I've loved the Democrats doing as they've been working are these shadow hearings. And I don't think you guys get enough credit for this, because I do think that people need to know about the work y'all are doing. You recently did one for House Oversight and Government Reform. It was a shadow hearing that was done in California, I believe, right? It was in California. And I'm going to play a little bit of sound because I think it's really important. But the person who was answering questions, the witness, is the president and CEO of the Immigrant Defenders Law Center. This was at a shadow hearing that was done about, and I can't believe we're having this conversation in the United States in 2025 about people that have just been disappeared. They are literally disappeared off the streets. And DHS, ICE, CBP, whomever, they have zero accountability and accounting for where these people have gone. And specifically, we're speaking about a gentleman by the name of Vicente Ventura Aguilar. And we're going to play a little bit of sound, and I'm going to have a question or a few for you after we listen to it. Take a listen.
Do we have any data on how many of our community members, friends, family members, loved ones have been disappeared under this government?
We do not, because the information that we have, the data we are receiving from the Department of Homeland Security is inaccurate. And we know that specifically because of the case of someone like Vicente Ventura Aguilar. Where is he now? They claim that he was never in their custody, but they have his photo. They have his name. They could use their biometrics data to find him and tell us where he is, but they refuse to do so. How many other Vicentes are there? How many other people are missing? It's the lack of due process that leads to the chaos that results in people going missing like Vicente, and we demand answers for his case.
I mean, 44-year-old Mexican man entered the United States in 2008. You know, and the bone I don't have to pick is if you're not here legally, okay, and there's not a pathway being afforded to you by the government, which should be afforded to you, you know, where is this poor man? His family can't account for where he is. You've written letters. You've got no answers. And for such a fancy government that allegedly has all this money earmarked from the big bullshit bill to be able to run this immigration enforcement program, right? How is it possible you cannot explain the whereabouts of this man?
The cruelty is the point with this administration, and the complete disregard for humanity is on the unfortunate exclamation point. Vicente was here. He's been here for over 17 years. He is not a criminal. On October 7th, 8 weeks ago, he was detained. He was being transported to Mexico. They'd stopped for a food break. He fell ill. They went to seek medical emergency, and he has disappeared off the face of this fucking planet. We have eyewitnesses that saw him on the bus. We have eyewitnesses that saw him fall ill. And we have facial recognition technology. We have reports that come from hospitals that can at least show us where he might have gone. And we have called CBP, we have called ICE, we have talked to Homeland Security, we have called the Mexican consulate, we have called local law enforcement, we have reached out to hospitals, we have even called the morgues, Katie, and no one knows where he is. They are saying that he never existed, and I don't believe that. And I have said repeatedly, if we can find Osama bin Laden, then we can find Vicente Aguilar. But this story is straight out of a Pinochet administration.
That's what I'm saying.
And this is not the kind of stories that we should be, the kind of story that we should be talking about in 2025 in this United States of America. So if you have him, just reveal him, because the family deserves answers and some closure. And if it can happen to one person, it can happen to anyone. And the fact that Kristi Noem refuses to answer the questions shows to me that there is a cover-up happening. And at some point, they all must be held to account. And then somebody has to go before an extrajudicial convening to talk about violations against humanity. These are human rights violations happening right here in this country.
What's outrageous to me is the footage. There's actually video of Vicente smiling and dancing with friends before immigration authorities swarm and they're gone. And maybe there is no video of them literally taking Vicente into custody, but it doesn't take a brain to figure out if the guy is there and then he's gone and the people he was with are gone, that they were taken into custody, all of them collectively. And I appreciate how you underscore the reality, which is it's about Vicente, but it's not just about Vicente. It's about him and helping his family figure out where he is. But it's about how many others, because if they're so casual
and
about people and cavalier, then it could be any of us, right? It could be literally any of us.
And the fact is that there's always camera surveillance happening between ring cameras, between phones, between our ability to access satellite visuals. We have the capabilities to find him. People do wear body cameras, even if they turn it off. Has everyone turned it off? Are you telling everyone to turn it off? Then that means that there's something coordinated and very pernicious happening. But we have the ability to tap in with drones, with all of the surveillance that we have. We can't find Vicente. I don't believe that. So why are you lying? What are you covering up? What have you done with him? And who else are you doing this to?
Well, what's kind of crazy, though, is the added wrinkle of if he fell ill, which there are witnesses to attest, literally bleeding from falling down, he doesn't get medical treatment. Is he in a medical? Did anybody at a hospital see him? I mean, did they treat him? Do they not keep records for treatment? I mean, the lie literally disappeared, literally has disappeared.
I'm glad you've mentioned that, because what we've also learned is that when law enforcement, when ICE agents do take people to hospitals, they take them under false names so that lawyers cannot access them, so that their family members can't find them. We have verifiable documentation that this has happened in the past. So the question is, did this also happen to Vicente? And why are they doing that? You know, like, are the people so beaten up and bruised? Have they been assaulted? Like, what's going on? But we certainly have asked using Vicente's name, but we don't have any false names that we can conjure up to find out if that name is in the record. But we called even the morgues. We called all the hospitals. We called all the medical facilities. We called all the morgues in the area, and no one has a record of him. Now, that's a horror movie.
That is a level of deception that requires coordination, but also is an example of consciousness of guilt. Because if you're not doing anything wrong in the way that you are treating and processing an individual, then you have nothing to hide about the whereabouts, the condition, and the status of that particular individual. But of course, as we know, this administration specializes in deceit. And, there was a big hullaboo over the Oversight Immigration Enforcement Dashboard that was created by House Oversight. Congressman Garcia, a colleague of yours from California, announcing this new tool that was launched by Oversight that allows to document verified incidents of possible misconduct and abuse during federal immigration enforcement operations under the Trump administration. It's the very least that we can be doing, because Vicente is just one example of the level of just, as you use the adjective, pernicious conduct of this administration under this guise of immigration enforcement.
The portal is so important, Katie, and I'm glad you mentioned it. It is a portal that anyone can access, and this is our opportunity to have these kinds of incidents documented and archived. People need to feel safe. They need to feel safe knowing that they can type in their experiences or the experience of a friend, family, loved one, of the abuses, of what happened, because we do have to have documentation of this so that we can hold the right folks accountable and conduct the oversight necessary when we have the gavels. And it's so important for members of the immigrant community to know about this, members of the LGBTQ community. We know that pregnant women are being mishandled and assaulted when they're detained. Obviously, members of our trans community are being assaulted, and then folks across the immigrant spectrum, and then also U.S. citizens, folks across the, immigrant status spectrum are being assaulted and terrorized and abused. And the portal allows you to share your experience, to document it so that Democrats have it. And we can then go through the process of calling these stories up and then holding the right folks accountable. And what we have said, and what Democrats have said, is that folks who work for the federal government, your oath is to the Constitution, not to the thugs who are in the cabinet. And you need to obey the law. If you don't, you too will be held accountable.
I have been on record saying now that I am incredibly circumspect about the level of support I'm providing specific candidates that are running for office. And one of the things that I am requiring for it's just me personally, to be able to provide that support is an affirmation that a candidate will seek accountability hearings. It is the least that we can do for people whose civil rights and human rights have been violated, but it's the goal. It's to get the gavel back, to have this level of transparency and accountability, which we haven't had. And I feel like that's an important thing that people need to stand for if they're going to run for office, because I do think it's one way of really setting the record straight and making sure that we are all on the right side of history for this.
We have to reset our moral compass. There is no way we can talk about how we're concerned about China, how we're concerned about Russia, when we are actually authorizing illegal extrajudicial executions and killings off the coast of Venezuela.
True. 100%.
There's no reason why we should be talking about what is happening in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh when we are disappearing people here off of Long Beach Boulevard in California. And if you are not willing to hold people accountable and walk through the fire and fight on behalf of the country and the Constitution and your constituents, then I'm just telling you, y'all don't need to be running for no office. You don't need to be asking for no money, because this right here is a battle for the conscience of this country and the protection of our democracy and Constitution. We are not in kindergarten right now.
And thus concludes the sermon of Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove. Woo! Another spicy SKD interview with Katie Phang. Listen, all kidding aside, you really are a fighter. And it's funny because I just had this conversation the other day, or maybe just today. God, it's all blurring together. But I was saying, you know what? We're not fighting to fight. we're fighting because that's what people deserve and that's what people need. It's not trying to meet the moment with, because I've seen some people, they're like, why are we lowering ourselves or debate? I'm like, I ain't debasing myself. I'm lifting myself to meet the moment of where it needs to be. There is a level of urgency about which we cannot be casual. We cannot be just nonchalant about what is happening right now. And you, my friend, are somebody who really understands that mission. And I am grateful as an American and as somebody who cares about where we're heading. So thank you, Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove, always for your advocacy and for your friendship and for being such a fighter. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, you are the most amazing queen. So I just support you always. KP, the illustrious.
Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.